My name is Charlie. Okay, my name is Charles, but I prefer people calling me Charlie for various reasons. But that is none of our in scope stuff to discuss. So during the day, I work at Protec, a cybersec company in Kenya that essentially deals. I'm an application security analyst over there. So I do a lot of Android stuff, some basic pen testing, and such. And during the night, I work at no lodging on fresh baked cookies as a developer, and I'm also a meme lord. And during the night, I also do bug bounty hunting, and I'm a CTF at Freaks, the number one CTF team in Kenya. So I'm a jack of all trades, which basically means I do a lot of things which are essentially security based and a bit of programming. I also love Android. I do a lot of stuff on Android. Some of them are unimaginable. And well, I use ParrotSec OS, and it's something to brag about. So if you use ParrotSec OS, you can give a shout out or something. Okay, so why bug bounty on Android? Well, uh, I love doing bug bounty on Android because of various reasons, which are quite reasonable and awesome. For one, it's a less explored field, which basically means many ethical hackers tend to shift away to web application security and such kind of things. But Android is not quite an exploitable field, which okay, it's not quite known by many. That's why I choose Android personally, and it has other more advantages. Like for example, majority of people in the world use Android, which means like if you find a 0 day bug, you'll have an added advantage of let's say like for example um, if you find a 0 day on Android or maybe a critical bug, you are at a greater at an added advantage of other people finding other 0 days. Let's say maybe on Linux or something of that sort, because Android is widely used and all such reasons. So iOS devices are seriously expensive. Like I don't imagine myself going to the shop to get an iOS device to do pen testing unless I'm quite good financially. I'm financially stable. So, but they say necessity is the mother of invention. So if you really have the need to do pen testing on iOS, I believe you can get an iOS device in a snap of a finger. But we ain't going to dig into that. That is none of our business. So the fourth reason is that Android is flexible, which means like if you get an application that is packaged, you can essentially decompile it and see a clear view of the Java bytecode that was used to code, which we'll see in a moment. It's quite easy to do that, but looking on the iOS devices, it's quite impossible to get the source code of an application because of iOS. What are they called? Uh, Copyright, whatever, and all that. So it's quite impossible to view an iOS source code, an iOS application source code. And the fifth reason is that we have Google Play Security Reward Program. This essentially means if an application has more than 1 million downloads in Play Store, you can dive in and start hunting for bugs, and you'll get paid, even if the owner of the application is not in a VDP program. You can essentially dig in, dive, start hunting, get bugs, find them, and Google will pay you well if you report such vulnerabilities, maybe which are critical. Some of them are trivial, and we'll see all that in a few minutes. So before we get deep into bug bounty hunting, wait, I even forgot. So most of you might be wondering, what the heck is bug bounty hunting? Well, bug bounty hunting is basically looking for exploitable bugs in an Android application. Yeah, I think I just made that more complex than it was supposed to be. So, well, bug bounty hunting is essentially looking for, we can call them what, points of compromise or maybe exploitable points in an application. Let's say, for example, you find a bug that allows somebody else to read WhatsApp messages from another person, or maybe something of that sort. You know, like uh, a bug that can allow a malicious actor or maybe a threat actor to do something that is not supposed to be done with the application. Maybe transfer funds from a banking application without a password, steal funds and such kinds of things. So you look for such bugs, and the process of looking for them is what is called bug bounty hunting. So we have a couple of fields in which bug bounty hunting is done on, like web applications. We have bug bounty hunting on IoT devices and such. But now our main focus over here is of Android devices. So we'll be looking for bugs in the whole of Android. You can look for bugs in the Android itself or an application that is installed in Android. So looking for bugs in Android is quite advanced, since you have to have intensive skills in assembly, C, and quite other, maybe a scene from maybe the Z, you have to have basic Rust skill. It's a new programming language, and that is quite hard. It's quite hard, I won't lie. So personally, I'm not there. I'm only limited to application security testing and such. But soon enough, I hope to be advancing and getting into Android itself, the OS, and hunting for bugs like buffer overflows and confused deputy kind of thingies. But I'm not yet there. So we have, before we dive straight into application security testing, or maybe bug bounty, whatever you can call it, whatever, um, we need to know the basics. Like, we can't just go on banging the door and start looking for bugs without having some pre-hand knowledge on stuff. So we have three types of applications in Android. We have native applications. So these applications are just applications that are compiled directly into the native code that is supported, maybe ARM in some Android devices, x86. It basically compiles into the native code of a certain architecture of an Android device. But we ain't getting deep into that. You just have to have beforehand. It might help you later on in selection and such. So we have hybrid applications. These are basically made, okay, most applications that are being made currently are hybrid. They have a rich variety of web interfaces, and these are the most vulnerable ones. So when you're looking for a target to select on, hybrid is the way to go, since they are made with JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. It might sound peculiar, but they are the easiest to develop and quite fast for developers. So most developers choose to use hybrid applications. Some of them use things like Xamarin, because it can compile different variety of applications for Android and iOS, and this makes them quite a suitable target and an interesting one. We'll see that later. And finally, you have wrappers. Some applications are basically, what can I say, like a shortcut to the web application. Like, you can install an app, but it's not really an application. It's just a shell that gives you a connection to a web application. So you can go around and you can go and play around with Apk Pure. They have such. When you visit the website using an Android phone, you'll see an option to install Apk Pure as a shortcut. So the moment you click that option, it doesn't install the actual application from Play Store, but instead it installs a kind of we can call it a wrapper that has most properties of a web application, and not that much of an Android application. It's quite an interesting new field that got introduced very soon in Android. Wait, it's not very soon, like recently in Android, and it's quite an awesome target to look at. So before we dive in, you need to have basic languages skills. By languages, I don't mean things like French. I don't know all that. I mean programming languages. So Java, you might have some small skills on Java, but not to the advanced level. Like what you just need is to understand what the code is doing rather than implementing it. But implementing it is quite an added advantage. So you need to have some basics in Java, Kotlin, and JavaScript. And some people think Java and JavaScript are quite one and the same thing. Actually, it's not. But that is out of scope. We're not supposed to discuss that in this. And you need to have a lot of Smiley. Now, Smiley is kind of when you reverse an application, it doesn't get back to the original source code, but it gets down to a language that is kind of human in understandable, which is Smiley. Now you can modify the Smiley, patch it up, and recompile the application. I'll show you a sample of an application that I did the reverse engineer and patched it. And for Kenyan Safaricom users, you can use it to browse for free without using any bundles on Safaricom ISP specifically. And I don't think that's a crime. I just enhanced some features, so might not be a problem. So you also need assembly basics. Like for example, when you're using a disassembler to view an application, you might need some knowledge in assembly, but this is very optional. What you just need is to understand the code and nothing much of that sort. So you don't have to be a pro lead Jedi master Android developer to start bug bounty hunting. No, all you need is just a pinch of this and that, and once you understand the code, you're very good to go. Okay, so I have to confirm something. I might be speaking to myself, and the my computer hanged up on me. So are you still following, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yes,
Awesome.
we are all good.
Awesome.
Yep.
Nice one.
Yeah.
So the other thing that you need is a pen and paper. Well, this is basically to write down some passwords. You know, sometimes it gets so hard and critical. You're looking into a bug and it's not exploitable. You have to bang some wall, hit your head on the wall, and scratch your head. So you need a pen and paper to lay down what you've done and what you've not done, so that you can use what do we call it? Isolation methodology. I think they just cooked up that up. So there's nothing like that. So yeah, but you need a pen and a paper to lay down what you've done, what you've not done, and what you are about to do. So let's begin. It might not be that easy. It will be a problem. Let's see why. Because we don't know where to start. So you have an application, you don't have anything in mind, you just have maybe some Java's programming skills and nothing else in mind. So where do you begin? Okay, so to begin in Android bug bounty hunting, first of all, you have to read disclosed reports. You don't just dive in into mobile application hacking without some skills. You definitely need a whole bunch of skills, especially in Android. So it won't be that easy, peanuts. No, 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 no. You have to do some beforehand digging before getting into it. So I'll show you how to do this, like to I have specifically isolated HackerOne. It has quite a rich resource of disclosed material that you can see and try to replicate in other application. It's not always the same. Like you find a bug in this application, you won't find the exact same replica in another application. It's a skill that you learn as you go. It's not something that you just get out of the blues. So you also need to do a lot of googling. Like Google has everything. If you want to land on Mars using a bicycle, it's very possible. You just Google it up and you'll see an article on that. Okay, and then you have to set up your lab. So Android application reverse engineering and bug bounty essentially requires you to have a specifically set aside lab where you can maybe do all sorts of things to the Android applications. we'll see this in a minute, and maybe after the session, if the time won't be that bad, I think we can have well, our time is quite limited, so we might have a session on this, setting up the lab, maybe in a nutshell or something. We'll see how to install some Arsenal and setting up Babs with proxy and such. So there's still a continuation of where you start. So the first thing that you want to do, maybe let's say you're new into this and you don't even have a slight clue on what the heck is going on and all that kind of stuff. The first thing you want to do is select a target. Now, a target is essentially the application that you're going to be hunting for bugs in. Okay, this kind of varies from one person to another, but I'll show you my methodology. So to begin, if you are a complete noob or a beginner, you just go to VDP programs like maybe HackerOne or Integrity, maybe Background, but I'll be showing you a demo on HackerOne. So you need the things that you have to have in mind so that you don't get frustrated. You need to select an application that doesn't have a lot of traffic, like when an application gets into such famous bug bounty hunting platforms like HackerOne, most people will pounce on it immediately, and you might go there, start looking for bugs in an application, you find none, and you'll be like, oh my god, this thing is horrible, I'm not going to do this again. Well, you have to select a target that doesn't have many people, so that you learn, and it might be a VDP program, which means it's free. You just hunt for bugs and get a thank you, maybe some points. That's where you basically begin if you're a beginner. But if you start hunting for bugs in applications that get paid, you'll be quite frustrated, because the journey is quite steep. Like the what do you call it? The competition is quite steep, and trying to beat out some famous people like Sergio, is it Sergio Toshin? Okay, whatever the name is quite a piece of. So let's see into target selection. So the first thing you want to do is Google up HackerOne. Okay, hackerone.com. So you just sign up in there and register as a researcher. That's what they call. Okay, we call ourselves like researchers. You don't want to go on saying that I'm a hacker. People will be looking at you like, what the heck? So okay, you're supposed to go to directory so that you can see the programs that are open and available for testing. And the thing that, okay, since I specifically do hunt on Android applications, you have to filter that out. So we want to use what do you call it? Okay, let me cook up a name. We want to use, okay, I can call it an algorithm. We want to use an algorithm that will give us the latest, okay, the recently installed application, like the recently joined applications in HackerOne. Okay, the recently joined companies in HackerOne that have Android applications in scope. So to do that, you just go and select Android program. Some of them are dormant, they don't even pay. So once you select that, and then you need to click on here. If these arrow points downwards, it means we have from the latest application to the oldest. So these are the latest, I believe. Yeah, you can even see the dates. This was launched on 5th 2021, whatever. So I think, so you just click on the application and you read through the policy, the instructions. You might be hunting on something that is out of scope. So you can see this application doesn't have a lot of submitted bugs. So it sounds like a good point to start off if you're a beginner. And also you can see they don't pay anything. Yeah, you see it's not eligible for a for a bounty. So you can just do this for fun, gain knowledge, and once you feel comfortable, now you can get the paying applications. So You just copy this, go to Play Store, paste it. I think I'll show you this. No, I won't. So to get the application, you just copy paste. This is the package name. You copy paste the package name uh, to Google Play, install it in your maybe emulator or maybe your phone, and hope it doesn't have if you are installing it in an emulator, you just pray to God it doesn't have anti-VM detection, it doesn't have VM detection mechanisms or maybe root detection mechanisms, because if it has those, now you have to research on how to bypass them. And Frida is quite an interesting tool that does that in a snap of a finger, but it's an acquired skill. You don't basically jump in and start bypassing such kind of things. But we have pre-made in applications like Magisk. Magisk Hide does quite a good job in bypassing root detection, and it's quite awesome. And you can look at it in your free time. So yeah, this is it now. We're done with selecting the application. Now we feel comfortable with Zigo. We don't even know what the heck it is. So the first thing you want to do is install it in your phone, try to interact with it, see what it does, and start thinking of points of compromise. Maybe you see like a sharing feature, that's a point you can look at deep, you can dive in deep. So we've seen on how to select an application if you're a beginner. So the next step is reverse the application. Okay, so we are going to do this as a demo. I think I'll have to install the application. So I'm going to fire up my Genymotion and install the application. Okay. That works in the background. I'm going to launch Genymotion. Supposed to be in applications and with programming, and I hope it doesn't overuse my resources because I might be kicked off the meeting. I don't want that. I'll pray. I'm a believer. I'll pray um, it doesn't do that to me. So as that launch is up, we can be going on to the next thing. So dissecting the manifest. Okay, we'll see about this. I haven't talked about the application architecture and all that, but this is the first thing you want to look at after disassembling the application. We'll see that in a moment as Genymotion finishes booting up. So I'll show you my hunting methodology. I think now this will be mostly practical, and to save on time, I'll skip off some bits, but I'll still touch on them. So let's see if this all it's done. And in my Genymotion is an emulator. I've installed Google Nexus 4, so most of the what do we call them, devices that you install here will come pre-font rooted, and it's quite an advantage since rooting the most recent phones, like maybe rooting a Pixel device that was produced last year, or maybe this is it's quite a hard thing, especially for Android 11 upwards. So I already saw that we have Android 12 beta released and people are using it, but rooting such devices is quite a pain in the. So let's start up our device, and we'll be seeing on how to do some stuff in a bit. So the first thing I look at after practically interacting with the application is data logging and insecure debugging. Well, this is just a feature that is skipped by most of the developers. You might find that in a login screen, you enter your password and your username, and then when you open Logcat, you see them getting logged. That is a vulnerability, and it has quite a good payoff. We can look for some examples on HackerOne, people who have been paid for such, but I think I'll be showing you practically. So there are two ways you can use Logcat. There is a certain application that does that, like you just open it in the background in your phone or in your emulator, it runs as you interact with the application, and then you go scroll down looking for some interesting or juicy information. You might find an authentication token or maybe something of that sort. And if you do manage to exploit such, maybe an OAuth token, you are able to show that you can access somebody else's application, what do you call them, somebody else's account using the same. That's a good bug that has a high payout. It's a P1 information, and you get paid huge amounts of bounty for such. So I think my phone has, yeah, it's already booted up. So the application that we saw on HackerOne was Zigo. I think I had pre-installed it or something. So let's see. I hope my emulator is visible to everyone. Can you guys see my emulator?
Yes, Charlie, we can see it.
Awesome. So the application is Zigo. I don't think I have it installed. So I'll shoot off to Play Store and install it. So we saw the application name was com.zigo or something. Okay, let me try to see what it was. So it's com.zigocover.zigo. Sounds more of an insurance kind of thingy. So okay, why the heck is this taking too much time? Supposed to have loaded up Play Store already. Okay, so com.zigo cover. You can just look for Zigo, and oh, I have it installed already. Interesting. So I'll open it, and we can start interacting with the application to see what it does and get familiar with it. This is the first thing you want to do. It's basically known as recon, whereby you interact with the application, try to mess up with some things, maybe enter your name in weird characters. If it throws uh, an error or something, you try to intercept the request using Burp Suite or maybe MITM proxy. So you can see this application is kind of an insurance thingy. So you head straight forward to registering, you give it all these credentials, and you find that some of these applications do not allow you to use your local phone numbers. Say, for example, as for this instance, this is an insurance cover application that is made in, I'm not sure, is it in Germany, US, or something? So you need to have a German number. If you have a friend who is in Germany, you can collaborate with them and register on their behalf, and then submit your bug, and you share the chunk. It's known as bounty splitting or such. But if you don't have a friend in Germany, you can get we have free numbers, and some of them are paid for. Oh, this is based in UK, so you can get a free UK number, a temporary one, and do your stuff. Once you get paid, you can just dump it or continue using. I don't know. It all narrows down to personal preferences. So let's get back to the slides and see what we had skipped. Okay, so we had skipped reversing the application. So I'll make this a demo. We have a couple of ways you can do this, but essentially all of them narrow down to Apk Tool. Apk Tool is a tool that you want to be in your Android application bug bounty arsenal, and we'll see about it in a couple of seconds. So we have a couple of ways to pull out an application from the system. You can use Adb or an application such as ES File Browser. So the simplest is ES File Browser, and I'll be using it since I want to save in some time in case we have another session, probably next year or before I die. We can look at it in a deeper level. So the application has already been backed up, is the application, and to pull it we'll be using a DB still. It's the application is in an emulator, and we need it in our local machine. So I'll go ahead and open a terminal. Most of you might be coming from Windows, and you'll be like, the heck is a terminal? A terminal is just something like this. It's self-explanatory. Okay, I love using fish. It helps in auto completion and such kind of things. So I'll change I'll change where I am to downloads and create a what do you call it, a directory, and I'll call it WosecKe probably. Then change into WosecKe. So at the moment I'm in WosecKe. It's quite an interesting thing. Not many people get a chance to be in WosecKe, and considering I'm not a woman. Also, we look at properties and copy the full path. Now, what does that basically does is that it gives us the exact position where the application is at, so that we can pull it more easily. Okay, I want to see if I have any devices attached to my machine, and I do that by using Adb Devices. So I only have, when you see this IP address, it basically means the emulator. So this is the ID of the emulator. It's the ID of the emulator. So to pull the application from the emulator to my local machine, I'll use ADB and then pull. Then I can specify the path. Okay, did I just copy this? Wow. So we go to properties, copy full path, and now we can paste it. And you don't just put it like that, you have to change in some things. So the path is not this right in the phone, it's from storage, I don't know, 0, all that, but from the ADB's point of view, you have to pull it from SD card, and then the folder where it is in. So you can see it's in backups and then applications, the same thing, and then the name of the application you want to pull. So when you press enter, it's supposed to download it, and it's done. That was fast. So we have the application in our local machine, and now to decompile it or maybe to reverse engineer it, we use Apk Tool. Apk Tool will basically not convert it from the package to Java, but it will convert it to Smalley. That's why I said you might need some Smalley basics, and it's not really a requirement if you're doing some dynamic analysis, but it's quite an awesome tool if you're more into malware analysis or maybe reverse engineering, and you might need this once in a while in bug bounty and red bug bounty, but it's not a must. You can just choose to ignore it. So to disassemble the application, we use this tool known as Apk Tool, and you have to give it a negative. Okay, they are known as arguments. I'll assume you have some terminal basics, some Linux terminal basics. So you can leave it at that, or maybe you can specify an output folder. So when we leave it like that, it will create a folder, something like Zico and those weird version numbers, and the application will be decompiled. So what the heck? I think I have to feed it the output folder, so I'll output it in Zigo. Oh, how stupid am I? You're not supposed to use this negative sign. You're just supposed to feed in the D flag, which tells Apk Tool decompile this thing that I'm feeding to you. So I don't think we basically need to use that. I should decompile it now, so you can see we're using Apk Tool. This is the latest version, I presume, and it's doing its magic. And I don't know, bug smiling. You'll find those terms. As the more you do this, you get to know about these terms. So you can see this word smiley. Okay, we've talked about smiley, so it gives you a clue whatever it's doing. You can see dex files. We might not look into them at the moment. So we can see a newly created folder that has the same name as the name of the application. So we are done with reversing the application. So we basically reversed it into Smalley, but that is not human readable. The only thing you can grab from Apk Tool reversed app is just the manifest, and that is what we're going to dissect. So let's look at the manifest. You just change directory into Zigo and list the files. You can see that we have the Android Manifest XML. This is basically, it's something like a blueprint that shows you the exact layout of the whole application. So by looking at this, you can deduce many facts from the same. So we can either use Vim, Codium, or Cult, but I'm just going to print it to the output standard, STD out. I mean, okay, you don't have to understand all that, but it's nice using hard terms so that people don't understand. Just kidding. Bad joke. So it's a lot of things. So the first thing you want to look at is the application permissions. Now, if you see this, oh my god, this shows we have something and we can expect the application is not supposed to write into the external storage. Maybe there's D card. You might look into whatever it's writing and you might find some interesting information. Some of the application write passwords and usernames in the external storage, and if you have a malicious application in the same device, you can literally extract them and use them to compromise the application or the account, I mean. So this is one of the permission you want to look at, and then the application connects to the internet. We'll see about this in a minute, and it has some check license. I don't have an idea on what that is. So after looking at the permission, the next thing you want to look at is the activities. We'll see this in IPC connections, and then we'll see about the broadcast. But I was just showing you an overview on what you're supposed to do. So after you disassemble the application, you look at the manifest file. You can deduce a lot from this. This way you still get things to do with deep links. We'll see that in a minute, so don't worry about the terminology. Jesus, the time is flying, so I'll try to speed up. So we mentioned about data logging and insecure debugging. To see about what the application is logging, we use Logcat. So Logcat is a we can call it an application inbuilt into ADB. So you can just use ADB Logcat, and then we don't have to feed it anything. By default, it will show you us everything that is going on in the application. So if I start using the application, you can see it's logging stuff. And maybe now you can start interacting with what is it, Zigo, and then it will bring out stuff about Zigo, like what you're doing with Zigo. Like for example, if you're logging in, let's try to log in. Maybe use blah blah blah, and then the password is nah. So if you click on login and see the password over here, you should immediately report that it's a bug. So no application is supposed to show some essential credentials like this to the standard out or to the Logcat. I mean, it's not supposed to do that. So from there, you can even see some application return authentication tokens. We have a couple of write-ups from Buggy Pro on HackerOne. You can see about, okay, he does quite nice write-ups. I think I'll start also releasing mine to the public. Sharing is caring, and um, knowledge is quite good. It's good to educate people. They say that a candle loses nothing by sharing its flame, and I quite believe that. So that's all about looking at the log information. Then the next thing that I look at is embedded secrets. This is quite the easiest thing okay, we call them low hanging fruits. It's the easiest thing that you'll find in an application. So to do this, you can use grep. So okay, where am I? Yeah, I'm in the application. So you can just grab for something like key, and it should print out a lot of gibberish in the screen. Now you start looking for some private information like maybe Google keys and such kind of things. A key. Okay, you recognize a key by just looking at it. It has some weird characters. Um, Most of them look like uppercase combined with lowercase and such. So by doing this, I hope we can find one over here. But this doesn't like print out a good output. So maybe you might see this in when using JDEX GUI. I didn't mention about the tools that you use in this, but I think I'll be touching on lightly on them as we proceed. So This looks like gibberish. You can basically recognize nothing from all these. So we give up. We give up. We don't want to do that. So to find such things, I'll show you another method now. We saw the first method of reversing the application is using Apk Tool that will decompile the application into Smalley, but you can't understand Smalley. So to get an overview of what the application does in maybe Java, you use JDEX. So we have an application called JDEX GUI, and I'll launch it with some parameters because it's quite resource intensive, and I didn't want to launch this app with my virtual machine running. I might blow up my PC, but I'm a daredevil, so we give it maybe 2 gigabytes of no, give it 4 gigabytes of RAM. And before I start this up, I'd like to go to the next step, so in case it kicks me out, I'll be at a better position. So after looking for embedded keys, we saw you can use grep or maybe strings. Strings is also another application that is okay. When you install ParrotSec, it comes with a whole bunch of all these tools. So let's see how we can use strings. So strings, you can use it by just typing in strings. What the heck? Strings, and then the name of the application. Even if it's compiled, it will look for all human readable strings, and then now you can start scrolling down and looking for some. Maybe if you can find a low hanging fruit, you might find a developer name, their email, or maybe a GitHub repo where you can go and review the source code. You find such low hanging fruits in such using such methods, and it seems you are quite unlucky. We found nothing. It's quite a good thing. Seems the application has security in mind, or the developer has security in mind. So the next thing we want to do is talk about network vulnerabilities. Now, if you find the application has a permission like the one that we saw, internet something, I'll scroll down to it. Instead of all that, I should just change my directory into Zigo, and then cut Android manifest. Android manifest, and the application is the permission I mean is okay, my screen is jumbled up, it's scrolling a lot. I don't want that. I want to slowly scroll. Something like these. So when you see such a permission uses Android name, Android permission, internet, it means the application is communicating to the internet. Now this is another indicator of a point of compromise. You start looking for, this is where you start using Babsuit, see the protocols that the application is using. You might find low hanging fruits, like maybe the application is connecting to an FTP server that doesn't use any credentials, so you just log into the what the heck, FTP server, and you might find some interesting information. You might find the application is communicating to an SSH server that uses a public key embedded into the source code. So you might find the source code by reviewing the code as we were doing, but that was smart. I show you using the JDEX, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. So that's all about network vulnerabilities. And then we talked about leaking tokens. So when you intercept the request using Babsuit, you might find the application is doing, after each and every request, it's embedding a token into the header. Now that's a vulnerability because you can redirect the request to your own controlled what do we call them, maybe server, and then steal the token and use it to take over the accounts, the user's account. So okay, I assume I should be taking this in a beginner friendly manner. I feel I'm using too much infosec terms, but there is nothing much I can do about it. So I hope you'll just catch up. Mentioning about tokens, I don't know, servers. Some might not be understanding, but I, if I if I go on deep and explaining everything, I don't think I think I'll be making things more complex than they already are. So you just know there's something known as a token. It's used to manage accounts, and we have a server. It's used to host resources and such kind of thing. Is you can use Google for that. That's why you say the first thing you want to do is Google stuff. So if you maybe you hear a weird name like SSH, you might go on and Google and see what SSH is. You hear about FTP, do the same. So about sessions, that's what I just said. You might look at the traffic coming to and from the application and see if you have maybe it's using HTTP, which is a vulnerable communication protocol where you can somebody can place themselves. It's known as man in the middle, where you intercept the requests, manipulate them, and give back false or modified information. You might find like maybe somebody is surfing through YouTube, and then you inject your own video. So when they click on a video, they'll see some video that they did not intend to look at. So that's all about session leaking and account takeover. ATU means account takeover. So then the other thing is in secure data storage. I think I mentioned about this, whereby when you see a permission like permission like permission like okay, let me scroll down to the manifest and show you this. Okay, so we have a permission like this, right to external storage. Now you want to look at the application. Okay, let me show you how you do this practically. So we have the application name and the package name. We saw the application name is Zigo, the package name is com.zigo.stuff, so you have an idea on what to look at. So in most cases, the application will store its data in Android. It's mostly it's always hidden, this folder Android. And then you want to look at data and then the package name. So the package name is it is com.digo, and we can see this application doesn't install anything of use. It's just an empty folder. But in some cases you'll find that you have an application when it's doing an update. Okay, I recently submitted a bug to, should I mention this? I don't think. Okay, they patched it so I can outsource. I can release it to the public. We have an application called Boomplay that is used to play music. What they used to do is when updating the application, they used to pull the application from their servers, store it in this directory, and then install it as an update. So what I did, I created a POC whereby you have an application injecting a malicious application in this folder. So when Boomplay tries to install the application, it installs a malware instead of the authentic application. Sadly enough, they never gave me a bounty. They gave me a thank you, and that is one of the challenges you'll be facing. Sometimes you find a critical bug and you won't get paid, but in most cases you'll get paid, and it's a motivation. Now is assuming you get paid like $300 for such, you'll be jumping all over and you'll be buying all sorts of things, taking a vacation to Mombasa or whatever. So that's all about data, insecure data storage. You'll find raw passwords in such directories. And then, okay, the other thing you want to look at is the application sandbox. Well, this is quite, I linked it up to this point. So you might find that some applications still they are sensitive. Okay, you might see this when you're looking at the Android architecture. It's made in security in mind. So an application is not supposed to access another application's data, but in some cases you find them placing some sensitive information in this folder, like the data folder. But okay, let me show you what I mean by saying about the application sandbox. So most applications store their data in slash data. If you are familiar with the Android, okay, no, the Linux file system, you might have a clue to what I'm talking about. So most of them store their data in slash Android slash data again, and then slash the name, the package name. So the package name was Comtigo, and from here you can see we have a couple of files. When you see lib, it means the application uses libraries, and we'll see about this. They quite have some low hanging fruits, but not in most cases. Then you can see databases. Now to browse to the application sandbox, you need to have root permissions. If you find yourself browsing to the application sandbox with no root permission, that's a bug. You should report it as soon as possible. Now, in the app sandbox, you'll find some applications having databases. Okay, I don't think this one has a database. It doesn't have a database. So you'll find some application having databases that store raw data, like maybe a raw password, and using other bugs, you can access the same and compromise the owner's account. That's something else you want to look at. Browsing the sandbox, you might find some useful information. And then we'll go to source code analysis. Well, when doing source code analysis, I came across a trick. I'll show you in this in the bonus, whatever. What do we call them? Bonus. Okay, let me say additional information. Okay, so that's my bug bounty hunting methodology. Oh, we still have more. So we have web views. Well, when looking at web views, you basically look at them in a web application context. Like you assume the application is a web application. You look for bugs like XSS, stored XSS, bugs like CSRF, idols, and all these you can just find them in HackerOne. You'll find such disclosed information. So to look for web views, these are the strings that you want to grab for, like set allow content. This will show you the application is using a web view, and most web views are do I call them vulnerable? They are vulnerable by default. So this is a well played bug. You find people getting a lot of cash from this, and this is something you don't want to miss. You want to look at the web views and grab for all these strings. Okay, grab is an application. I think we just use grep to look for the key, but I'll be showing you this in a deeper level when using JDEX GUI. So we also have deep links. This is whereby you find yourself as having an attacker ideology in mind. You set up a link when I think I had a session on hacking using HTML. If I didn't have, I was dreaming about it. So this is whereby you embed a link into a HTML. Maybe somebody visits a page, or you send them a link on WhatsApp and try to social engineer them. And when they click the link launches a certain application. So okay, let's see this physically. Maybe this application has well, it has deep links enabled. You want to look at a string called browsable. I seems it doesn't have. I can't see any. Oh, yeah, we have browsable, so it should be somewhere around here. Okay, it doesn't have an intent. It has a scheme. Under scheme example. Okay, that is weird. That is very, very weird. So it uses the default intent scheme. Okay, whatever I'm murmuring about is something to do with deep links. I'm not sure if I have an example that I can show you guys with. I think I have one in mind. I have Reddit installed here. I can use this as an example. So you find yourself when you look up for, okay, like you're Googling stuff. Let's say, for example, you Google up for stuff like Reddit dot. Okay, I hope this one is in it. IT. It's taking forever to load. So you find like some of these applications will give you an option to open with maybe Google Chrome, or okay, you find yourself clicking a link in the web, and then it tells you to choose. You can either you can either open using Chrome or maybe Twitter or maybe Reddit or something like that. You can link and it spills out some data that is not supposed to spill. So this is not loading up. I don't know why. I guess it hates me. Let's proceed to the next thing, which is IPC. Okay, I'll due to the time, I'll just touch lightly on this. IPC just means inter-process communication. This is whereby an application communicates with itself or other applications in the phone. We have activities. So, for example, when we launch the Zigo app, this is an activity. It's a login activity. So if you have such an interface, it's an activity that is controlling the same interface. When we go back to this is another activity. It might be the splash screen. If you click on register, this is another activity, and you can see them in the manifest file. They are basically declared using an activity tag. So you can see, like, for example, here we have an add payment method activity. We have all these sorts of activities. I don't know, the junk and all those. And some things you want to look at is these exported flags. Like if an activity is exported, it means you can launch it without having trouble. And if it's not exported, you can use some tricks that are still Googleable. You can Google for them. It's known as activity proxying or maybe intent redirection, whereby you launch an activity that is supposed to be private to the application, but you can launch it using your own controlled application. So we might not have time to do a demo on that, but that's all about. That's all I can touch about activities. We have services. Now you find yourself using something like maybe TikTok. Okay, I've never used TikTok, so I don't know about it. I don't know much about it. We have maybe a music application. Yeah, like Spotify. You have Spotify running in the background, music singing, and then you're still googling up stuff. So the act of Spotify singing in the background, that's a service that running the music and making it available to the user. And then you have broadcast. So when you have some instances, like for example, we have applications that change the theme based on the battery levels. So let's say when you get below 20%, the application changes into night mode. We have applications that start up when the phone reboots. So you might find, like, for example, when you boot your phone, your WhatsApp messages starts popping out, and this is a good example, Reddit. So this is done using broadcast. So when the phone opens up, it sends a broadcast. It's like just a WhatsApp group broadcast whereby you send a message to everyone in your group. And then if they in the same group, they receive the broadcast. So this is done using the application. They basically like people. So when the phone boots up, it sends a broadcast. Hey everyone, I just opened up, and some of them receive, and they be like, oh, when I receive the phone has opened up alert, I should start looking for messages. In the case of WhatsApp, the same happens to Reddit and others. So that's all about broadcast. And then we have content providers. Now, when you find this, I usually use a tool called known as browser to exploit this. This is quite a vulnerable field whereby you'll find stuff like SQL injection. You can find yourself reading private information like phone contacts and messages using the same content provider. A content provider is like a messenger that is used to communicate in applications. So let's say, for example, you want you find when you're saving somebody from WhatsApp, you click on the edit button, and then it directs you to another application, contact application. You save them, and after clicking on save, it directs you back to WhatsApp. That's the work of a content provider. It acts as a middleman, passes the information from WhatsApp to the contact and back, and so on and so forth. So that's all about content providers. These are quite vulnerable to SQL injections, path traversals. Oh no, no, it's directory. Yeah, okay, whatever I call them, path traversals and all that. And then we have APIs. Okay, this is quite an interesting field. I've been doing research on it for the last couple of we can call them times. So APIs are quite an interesting field to test on. You find that most developers create API. Okay, I shouldn't be digging into what APIs are, but they are just interfaces that, let's say, for example, you have let me find an example in my head. So, for example, using this Zigo app, when you click on login and you enter in your data, it's sent to a server, a Zigo server, and the server has an API that checks if we have this email and the password, and if we have the email and the password, it returns maybe a success or a login successful. So that's the work of an API. It's an interface that's how can I phrase it? It kind of masks the complexities of a server to something simple. Like you just feed it something, it gives you back something. So you can look at them. Okay, we have GraphQL. It's one of the most recently developed API to API. Um, can I call it a method? Okay, an API. Well, we can call it it's just an API. We have GraphQL. You feed it in data. How I wish I had more time, I could show you all this, but it's good to just have an idea so that you can go and research more on it. We have GraphQL, and it's quite vulnerable to a couple of attacks. Like maybe you can give it a specially crafted query. It's known as an introspection query, and then it spills out everything that is not supposed to give. Like you might find some useful information in that. You can still find that on HackerOne disclosed reports. We have quite rich full context in content in there that you can look at. So that's all about APIs tips. I think we're almost done. So when you're looking at the manifest and then you find a permission get external storage in the manifest, that means the application is basically storing something in the external storage. So you definitely want to look out in that directory and see if we have some sensitive information. Then we have this string application /vnd android package underscore archive. When you see this string, in the application source code, it means the application is trying to install another application. So it might be an update, and that is a point of compromise. You can create a rogue application that changes the legit application into your own malicious application. So let's say for the instance of Boomplay, they were downloading the latest version of Boomplay and using Boomplay to install the same application. So it's like, I can show you an example using Zigo. So let's say we have Zigo in here, and when we click it, it has an update button. So when you click on update, it doesn't take you to Play Store, but instead it pulls out another. Oh yeah, I have an awesome example that I can show you. We have this AIDE. It's an application that you can use to create Android programs in your own phone, so you don't have to use an Android emulator and such. So we have a feature. Not sure if I'll get to it. Okay. So the feature is supposed to install another application using the same. It's supposed to be in. I'm not quite sure. Is it in here? Somewhere in here? Nope, it's not there. Okay, where is it supposed to be? In I think it's in build and run. And yeah, native support. So when you click on yes, it should start installing another application. Now, if you find that the application, okay, I'll just do a demo. When you click on yes, oh, it directs you to Play Store. Okay, I believe I have to install this. Now, this is quite a long process. 195 MBs. So it first installs the original application. This application will try to install another application. Now, when you find that the other application is being stored in the SD card, you can fool this application to believing that your own malicious application is the legit one. So instead of installing the downloaded application, it will install the malicious app, and that's a bug. You report it, and it's quite well paid. It's something critical because nobody wants malware getting installed to their phones. And how do we beat? Okay, we have something called obfuscation. This is whereby the programmer or maybe the developer tries to make the code not readable to you. So even when you try to decompile the application, you won't be able to read a thing from the same. So okay, I'll be showing you a demo. I've been singing about JDEX for quite a long time. I think it's the appropriate time to show you how JDEX works. So I have an application called JDEX GUI. You can Google it up and download it. You can see that it's located in, okay, we don't have to see all that. But I use these special options to give it a heap size of 4 GB, because Java applications consume a lot of memory, and it might make your PC or laptop freeze. So that's why I feed it that. So as that opens up, we can be covering the rest of the things. So we'll have a look at this. I found a trick that most API keys developers nowadays are becoming, what do we call them? Oh yeah. So my JDEX is already up and running. We'll open the directories in. Did I save it in documents? I think so. Something like to do with WosecKe. So I'll scroll down to WosecKe. Here's WosecKe, and here's our application. So when you open the application, now JDEX converts the application into the raw Java code that was used to create the application, and you can see that we have. So you can look at the Android application architecture in the internet. I won't be covering all that because of time limits. I can see we are past time and I have to rush this up. So you go to com, and then the name of the application might be Zigo or Tigo. So it's in this case will be okay. You have to, and okay, let me show you an example of the main activity. So okay, there is nothing much in this, but you can see that if you are have basics in Java, you will understand this. And it's doing something when the application starts. So the main activity basically opens the first page that you see when the application launches. So what this main activity is doing is it's launching another intent. Okay, did we cover about intents? An intent is what do we call it now? It's I can call it a mode of communication where you use um, it to do some, okay, like for example, an application wants to communicate to a feature in the same application. Let's say for example the login screen wants to communicate to let's say the start page, the page, okay, it's known as the splash screen, the first page that opens when you click the application. For example, in Facebook, when you click it, you see a Facebook logo, some loading full stops and such. So that splash screen wants to communicate with the main activity, so that it tells it when I'm done loading, you should either check for Wi-Fi or maybe start up the first page that the user will see. So the thing that is used to communicate such information is an intent. So the splash screen will use an intent to launch the main activity. So that's all about it with reversing the application. And okay, I don't want to do it, but if you want to look now for the keys that I was talking about, you use this button over here. When you click on it, it should start now decompiling the application, and then you can enter in the keyword key, or maybe something you want to look at, like the trick that I just showed you, this VND trick. When you look for this and you find it, it means the application is trying to install another application, and you can try to see how you can compromise that and create a reasonable report and get paid for the same. So that's all about viewing the source code. Now about obfuscation, you find that some developers embed the keys in a weird manner. They use them as arrays, I don't know if we have an example in here that I can show you. Okay. Mhm. I just look for them. Might find something interesting. Uh Seems this application was made in React Native, so it's a hybrid application. Okay, now to beat around obfuscation, you look at the imports. Let's say, for example, you see the application importing something to do with zip, com.zip.utils, or com.java.zip.util. It basically means we have the application trying to open a zip somewhere, or maybe trying to unzip something. And that's another point of compromise because we have something called a zip sleep, whereby if the application unzips a zip, it's supposed to direct the application to somewhere that it's not to be supposed to be. So that's all about beating obfuscation. And I was talking about keys. Modern application don't store the keys in a raw format. They will use something that we call array. So for example, now to decompile the array, I personally use Python or Ruby. So I'll open up another terminal and show you a sample of what I'm saying so that maybe you get a rough idea. So I'll use Python 3. And if you find an application has something like maybe array, or maybe something defined as a byte, followed some weird numbers, like for example, you can say uh, we have ASCII code characters. So what the developer simply does is that they convert the key into it's is it compatible? It's equivalent forming in ASCII format. So we might find something like 67, 68. Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be a comma 68, maybe 60 something, 70, I don't know, 80. So these are the ASCII equivalents of characters. So if you have basics in any programming language, you definitely know about this. So when you find an application that has some sort of weird characters, now you just come and use a variable to store the the key or maybe the characters, and then use a certain function that is used to convert this format is an array, so we need to convert it into a string. We use this function in Python. I'm not teaching you about Python, but you should be able to follow up even if you don't have the basics. So you have byte and you enclose it, and then you use another function, inbuilt function in Python known as join. So what this basically does, it joins all these, like maybe suppose they are separated, joins them into a single string, and then we use another function called map, and in the function we map the what are these, are they characters? Yeah, we map the characters into their equivalent bytes. Okay, it's the reverse. We map the bytes into the equivalent characters. So this is okay. I have an error. Uh, I hate debugging. So we can see that um, it transformed this byte array into its equivalent characters. We have 67 representing C. We have 80 representing D, and I think it's 68 representing. Oh, yeah, it's 67 representing C, 68 representing D, and 80 representing P. So from such a context, you can be able to see that the developer is trying to hide the key in a way you can't read, but you can use this trick to see the key, and maybe you might find an AWS key that you can use to compromise their database, see the information they store in AWS buckets and such. So that is quite an interesting trick that you want to look much into. It's not very much available in the internet. It's something that you learn as you go. And then you look for comments. Like in the decompiled code, you can see, maybe, for example, I don't know if you have an example. Um, Maybe the developer says something here. This function is supposed to do this function is supposed to do this, and from those you can have a rough idea of what the application is trying to do. So that's all about comments. And here's the takeaway: most web views are buggy, and applications communicating to servers never miss a flow. So if you find an application that uses the strings that I showed you before, that uses any of these strings, it means it might be vulnerable to a web view attack. And if you find an application has what do we call them? It has some communication protocols. Okay, like for example, in the manifest file, you find an internet connection permission. It means the application is communicating to a remote server, and that means it's also vulnerable to certain flows. So you want to dig much into that. Then we have another free takeaway. I'll give you this for free: games with ladder boards. Like maybe, for example, games made with Unity, and they have a ladder board where you can see this person is number one and such. They are very vulnerable to things like XSS, stored XSS. They are vulnerable to SQL injection. So you want to look at such games, and it will be fun because you'll be playing games and at the same time hunting for bugs. And then we have another low hanging fruit that I've seen in many applications. If you use grep and then see something to do with GCC that has a version lower than 4.9, it means the application is vulnerable to a buffer overflow. So you can dig more about buffer overflows and see what I'm talking about. And you can use the same to remote control the application. So we're not digging into that. Yeah, time is far much gone. So I think that's it for today. So you have my social media links. I have a YouTube channel where I post a lot of memes. Oh, no, no, not really. I post a lot of rich content, Android content, and some basic stealing tricks that are legal. I have a Twitter account. You can follow me for some memes and such, and WhatsApp. I post memes on WhatsApp, and I love memes. Everybody should love memes. You can also contact me. I have a Telegram channel where I post some useful information based on Android. And now you are pro lead Jedi Android master based on the speech. You can go and start hacking the world. You can start stealing people's data, which is quite unethical, and you'll get caught and in prison for not less than 25 years in our country. In another country, you might be banned from using a PC. So go do nasty things and be responsible. If you're not responsible, uh, well, you might land in trouble. So everything you do from the knowledge that I just shared should be ethical. So don't go around hacking people's applications, stealing people's Wi-Fi. It's not good. And that's it. Go and hunt the bugs. And any questions, like general questions, not personal questions. Any questions or comments or compliments or an insult or maybe something of that sort? Yeah, I think I should share my PayPal account so that anybody generous enough can, donate something.
Wow, okay. Charlie, you have a question on the you have some questions on the comments.
Mhm.
There's Imperial Gamma asking, does obfuscation affect how data is passed by an APK? Maybe like load time.
Not really. What obfuscation just does is that it makes the application source code quite hard to read. It doesn't affect the speed of the application. Like maybe you launch the application and it's lagging. It doesn't. It doesn't affect how the performance of the application. It doesn't. It just hides some things that attackers might look at. Okay, like you can decompile an application and find maybe PayPal credentials in them. So what obfuscation does is that it makes them human and readable and unfriendly. But we have tools that are used to deobfuscate. Like JDEX has a tool that you can use to deobfuscate. So it's not quite a factor.
Hata ulizama umetoka group of schools.
Charlie.
Yeah. Hey, Alexandria.
Oh, so my question is like, okay, in this platform like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, we have those challenges for the reverse. Okay, does it help? Because nowadays I'm getting to an extent that CTF is not helping me to solve the bug bounty. Does it help to practice anyway? Did it help you? That's my question.
Yeah, that's where you go wrong. CTFs are I want to be something like you must do CTFs. They give you skills that you can apply in the real world. I have a special set CTF. Okay, it's not mine, but I use it to refresh on my Android bug bounty hunting skills. And CTFs will also help you in web application bug bounty. So it's something essentials. If you have knowledge in doing CTFs like reverse engineering, trivial
Yes.
challenges, bone challenges, you'll be able to identify bugs like buffer overflows in Android applications and such with ease. So
Okay, but it's not my problem is not that one, because okay, we haven't met and I haven't been active in social media, but I'm the second in Hack the Box, the Kenyan.
Bro, big up.
yeah.
So
Okay.
but okay, allow me to talk Swahili if the people are, because I don't feel like talking English when ndio watu mwelewe. So my issue is hapa inatokea hapi. Hello,
We're listening.
so my issue is most of the CTFs, it's something that there is you're hunting for a specific thing, right?
Yeah.
And okay, for the website, yes, I can say it has helped me. But how do you start now to apply that thing, the skills that you get from the CTF? Because I'm decided now thinking that I'm wasting my knowledge. I'm not doing anything, but I'm wasting it, because most of you people were doing, when I check in my Hack the Box page, okay, the world rank was it 370 something, but when I check you, okay, so maybe you people, maybe you can give me some guidelines later, but I'll contact you in. But okay, I don't have any other question. Thank you for answering my question.
So that is what happens. If you can, okay, like on a personal level, you can see that the challenges you do on web in Hack the Box. Okay, I don't believe Hack the Box has many mobile application challenges, but we have some what do we call them? We have some rooms in Try Hack Me that have some Android application security oriented challenges. You can look into those. You still apply, okay, the same way you apply the web what do we call the methodology to hunt for flags in Hack the Box.
Yes.
You can use the same to hunt for bugs in web applications. Like for example, let's say you're supposed to fire up an XSS and you'll get the flag, or maybe you're supposed to analyze a JavaScript code and maybe look at embedded secrets. You still use the same knowledge to join to do bug bounty. So if you have been hacking the boxes in Hack the Box, it will be quite easy for you to join bug bounty. If you have been doing Hack the Box, you can earn money through maybe what do we call them? CTF challenges. We have CTF challenges that you pay you when you win. And also now you can join bug bounty whereby you
But
start hunting bugs and get
to
paid.
cut you short there, the most of them require teams, like kind of the teams thing.
What do you mean teams? Like Hack the Box or CTF?
Okay, do we have the battleship, the battlegrounds, and we have the both. That's where most of the championship. Okay, they call it championship at times, but still they require you to have like a team, a group of 2.
You can do it solo. can do it solo, or you can
Okay, I'll
send
check it
us an
out.
application Team Freaks, and you'll be very welcome, especially if you have the skills to hack hack stuff in Hack the Box. So actually, we are looking for guys like you.
Can you tell me what did the site again?
Freaks. It's not a site. It's
It's a group, a
yeah,
team.
yeah. It's a team of CTF players. We actually the number one winners,
Oh.
CTF winners in Kenya. So you can join us in Team Freaks, and we'll guide you through transitioning from CTF based stuff to now the ground stuff. But it's not something difficult. It just takes a matter of maybe in a week or two you'll be earning your first bounty and all that stuff.
Okay. I'll consider that.
Okay, so any more questions?
No, any other question? Thank you.
Yeah, I have another question there from Festus.
Festus, so sorry I joined a bit late. I don't know if this was discussed, but I want to ask if it's possible to narrow down to a functionality in an application. Let's say you want to fuzz the search functionality. How do you identify, for example, such a for what? Okay, I assume that's a functionality, or maybe log it as you say, if you can. Okay, um, from what I understand, you're asking how you identify something that you can fuzz on. In Android application, there is not much of fuzzing unless you're brute forcing directories. So, okay, it's an acquired skill. You'll just look at something like, for instance, the login screen and start tampering with it. Maybe you enter fake credentials, capture the request in Babsuit, try to manipulate it and see maybe if you can use the application without using correct credentials, and that will be maybe an account takeover. You can try logging into your account in a Android application, try messing up with maybe the ID parameters, and you might find an idol or something. So there is not much to do in Android fuzzing, Android bug bounty and fuzzing related stuff. If you want to do fuzzing now, you have to be fuzzing the Android itself, the OS, and we use a tool known as Android Fuzz Logic tool, and it's quite advanced for me personally. I find it quite challenging, and it requires intense resources. Like you must have a machine with a strong GPU and such kind of related stuff. So in Android, there is not much of fuzzing. It's all about looking, manipulating. You might do something stupid and find a critical bug, like for example, changing your name into weird characters, like maybe a combination of letters and signs, and you find yourself finding a critical bug from the same. If you look at the reports at HackerOne, you might find some stupid things that people do, and they earn huge bounties. Like you can even buy a plane from the same. So it's quite an interesting thing. Have I answered your question, Festus? I think Festus doesn't have audio, so maybe you can text in the chat. And then are there online mobile bug bounty communities that you'd recommend? So Festus says, I recently discovered an application where certain things, it crashes on certain Android devices. So I was trying to investigate the search functionality. So I was wondering if it's possible to log the app and identify the functionality. Okay, what I advise you to do is decompile the application and look at the source code. Like for example, let's say in our context we have the Zigo. Let's look at a certain function so that I can show you. We can use the same that we have open at the moment. If you look at this application, like if you have some Java basics, you'll see that the image is using some has defined an exception, which means like if it tries to do something that it can't, it will throw an error instead of crashing. So in your context, the search functionally just reverse the application, start going through the source code. And actually the good thing about Android, it's not like a web application whereby you don't have the source code. Some of the bug bounty programs will provide you with the source code, but if they don't, you still have an added advantage because you can simply decompile the application in a matter of seconds and you'll be able to see all this. So for the search functionality, you don't have to try brute forcing and such. You just look at the source code, see maybe it has a class that allows tries to maybe filter some things, but it's not working. See how you can manipulate it. You can even copy the whole thing and try to replicate your own small application in maybe Java or Kotlin. Try to replicate the site's functionality, mess it around with your own things, and see if you can do something feasible. And if now you can compromise the same functionality, now you just go ahead and report the bug to bug bounty. So most of the I've been hunting in HackerOne, I think, for the last 2 or 1 years, and of recent I haven't been quite active, but my field of specialty is Android. So I don't think I have any openly disclosed reports, but I'll try I'll be rating them very soon in my website. I'll be communicating as time goes by. So totally agree on filling the forms with weird characters. Yeah, this works magic. It works magic. You try to insert maybe an equal sign and you find a weird error, or maybe it does something unexpected, and now you play around with it, and you might find something huge. So are there any mobile bug bounty communities that you'd recommend? Yeah, we have a bug bounty KE group where we share some resources on. Okay, it's quite jumbled up. We share resources on both Android and web, and any other bug bounty related stuff. So you might contact me. I'll make an arrangement for you to be added in the group. So share Android CTF sites. I have this in my Telegram channel. I think I'll be sharing them after this. So thank you, Lane. Thank you, Kibet. So okay, Hillary. So we have. Oh yeah. I think I had answered that one. Mm, oh.
Have one from Hillary. Chini kabisa.
Mm.
Yeah.
So Hillary is asking, there is this application that claims to take security fast. It's protected with a fingerprint and PIN. However, everything is stored in clear text is seen using the file manager. Yup, that's a bug. That's a bug, bro. Go for it. You can create a simple POC application that basically grabs all that stored text and maybe uploads it to your own control domain, and then you can use it as a proof of concept. This is quite paying, especially if the information being leaked is P1. So you'll get quite a huge bounty on this if you just try to manipulate it and see how you can do about it. Like maybe you just create a simple proof of concept application that will grab all that data, maybe show it in a screen. That is enough proof of concept. So it's a password manager. Yeah. If it's in a VDP, report it right now. You should be enjoying it the next week. In next week, I should be seeing you on a vacation. So, any other questions?
There was a question earlier by, I think, Rodrigo, and he was asking if wrappers are the same as PWA.
Pardon?
He was asking if wrappers are the same as PWA. Yeah, that's one.
The heck is a PWA?
I've Googled it's progressive web apps.
Well, I think it's one and the same thing. Like I said, for example, we have these APK Pure. So if you visit the APK Pure site, I think we can just do it. I'm not sure if it'll show me the option since I'm on a Linux device. Oh, actually, I can use my emulator. So when you browse APK Pure, oh my god, this is not working. I'm not sure why. and I'm connected to a network. Let me see if I have proxy enabled. I don't have a proxy, so what might be the problem? These things are quite frustrating sometimes. So you don't have to worry about what I'm doing at the moment. Oopsie. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to work. So maybe I can use my physical device actually. So let me grab a USB cable, but it's something quite simple. Let me connect the USB cable and connect my physical device, and then should close the Adb to avoid conflicts. Adb Devices. Adb Devices, and I have my phone attached, so I can use this application called CR. It's a CRC. What am I doing? CPY. I should have my screen popping up in a sec. So let's see if it will pop up. Yeah, so this is my physical device, and go ahead and enter my password, and we are in. I hope the screen is visible. It's quite small. Oh, just disconnected the device. So reconnect again. And there are certain people that you can look out for, like Buggy Pro. He's quite a pro in Android related stuff. He does magic in the Android world. We also have is it Aditya Agwal. They have quite complicated names. You can look out for such open source information in Twitter. So I enter my password and then scroll down to Google Chrome and look for Apk Pure. So Apk Pure. We also have some games that use this methodology, whereby you don't have to install the exact application. Instead, you install the wrapper itself. So let's see if we can showcase this. I hope I'm not quite off the time limits. I don't want to be wasting. Most of you do work, and I want to get some people fired. It's quite bad. So if you start interacting with the application, you can see that we have a down. What the heck just happened? Well, so yeah, my phone is overloaded. That's why it's misbehaving. Oh, I missed my password. Jesus Christ. So this is embarrassing. This is what happens when you do a live stream. everything fails, even if it's supposed to work. So when I try interacting with the application, you should see something like it should be here already. Oh, why it's not here? Me maybe search for this maybe. Oh my god, and we have ads. Everybody hates ads. Or maybe I have the application installed in my phone, that's why it's not bringing out stuff. I don't know, I'm not quite sure. In Instagram. Let's try to install Instagram. Maybe anything. And why is that feature not here already? Okay, I'm not sure why this is not working, but it's supposed to bring something like maybe a pop-up telling you that you can install Apk Tool as a shortcut. So when you click in such a feature, and it goes ahead and installs not the actual application, but it's kind of a I find using the word wrapper quite easier. It creates a wrap of the web app. So what you'll be interacting with is not the actual application like APK Pure is in Play Store. But when you install the wrapper, it will be just a shortcut, kind of a shortcut that is installed, partially installed in your phone, and partially grabbing data from the web. So that's all about what do we call them? Wrappers. So any other question? I hope I've answered that. Any other question? Vivian, I believe you have a question. Thanks, Maggie.
Hi, Margaret. So we share a link to the recorded session in the course of the week.
Maybe she's not in your community or something. You can maybe share WosecKe's official WhatsApp group or something. You know, some of these people don't even know if such thing exists.
So we'll share it on Twitter. Just follow the page WosecKe, and then we'll share it on the post that we've uploaded for Charlie. So on the comment section, we'll just upload a link to the video.
That sounds awesome. So any other questions, comments, compliments, hate speech, something of that sort? Silence means we have none. So that's it from my side. Thank you guys for showing up for this session. I hope you learned something, and I hope you'll start earning in the next few weeks or maybe a day. You know, some of you might be lucky and dive in today, and you might get a huge payout. Please remember me. Yeah, you might throw a coffee or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's it from my side, and thank you guys.
Oh, hi, Charlie. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking forward for Android Bug Bounty Part 2. I think that will handle Droza. From my end, that's what I'm waiting for. Part 2, that is the Part 2. This session was nice. It was interesting. I think everyone enjoyed it, right? Just give a shout out like, hey, yes, thank you.
Well, some of them have faulty microphones, so
yes,
maybe
you see, everyone is saying yes. Yeah, that's the team. That's the spirit.
Okay. Oh, about Droza, I think I have session on covering on Droza. I had one.
Yeah, you did one in the course of the week, I think. So I joined in the course of the week. So, but we don't mind doing another one with WosecKe. We'll call it Android Bug Bounty Part 2 by Charlie, and I think everyone will enjoy it, right?
Yeah, that can be arranged.
Yeah. So another few remark. Hilary Soita, you're here. I've been looking for you. And Charlie just gave us an amazing session on Android. So I'm looking for you for web application. This is your time to unmute yourself and make the community know you.
Just unmute.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hilary Soita.
Tunakuona lini bro?
Mtaniona soon.
We are putting you on the spot.
Next week.
Charlie present, it's difficult to match that.
True.
Lazima uende kitchen kidogo, you have to cook well.
Tenda jikoni nitayarisha for a few months.
But we'd love to have you. We'll talk baadaye about it. And I'm sure pia wewe enjoy having us, right?
Yeah. I'll let you know when I'm ready, when I'll have some time.
Okay, sawa. Thank you.
Okay.
We were sharing, tukianza, we shared few topics that you'd be interested in. By you, I mean everyone who has joined the session. So if you still have a topic in mind, you can chat us on Twitter, Women of Security Kenya, anywhere. So we ameamua kutuma hapa presentation ndo nikose kukopi alafu the whole week kila mtu akuwe like, where is the presentation? Let me just copy the link. So Charlie, we are grateful. I can't say how grateful we are. I know for those who turned up, it's Saturday, I know, busy schedules, but happy you all came. That's our Twitter handle. Jennifer, it's my turn to put you on the spot kama kawaida as we close up.
Okay. Hi everyone. Yes. Thank you so much, Charlie, for the wonderful presentation. I know you told me you have so many topics that you would like to discuss, so don't be surprised when we invite you again and again. And yeah, and anyone else in the meeting, in the group, if you have anything that you'd like to share, to talk about, to teach us, you can just reach out to Vivian mostly. And if you can't find Vivian, contact me. So we'd love to hear from you, learn from you. And yes, have a wonderful afternoon.
Whoa, it's afternoon already. Wow.
You did well, Charlie. You did really well. I did time flew. But we are in pajamas at 12 in bed, just watching Charlie and your French accent.
Okay,
Thanks so much,
guys.
Charlie. That was awesome.
Charlie, hujajibu swali. Are you French? Amekaa Kenya sana.
Well, not really, but I have some genes from so that might explain part of the accent.
Okay.